Hello, this is Eric Jesse. This is Education 410. The assignment title is Week 7 Social Studies Lesson Implementation and Video, and today's date is December 10th, 2022. Okay, I have Jonah with me today. Jonah, how are you doing, bud?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for taking time out of your day to come and learn some social studies with me. So for today's lesson, we're going to be talking about the Revolutionary War. Have you heard of the Revolutionary War? Maybe a little bit.
A little bit, I think so.
A little bit, yeah. It was a very important time in our nation's history. There's a lot of different areas that went into it. The first kind of way it started off was, you know, so for instance, let's say obviously you live in Virginia, correct?
hmm
Okay, and I live in Iowa. Okay, so do you have certain rules at your school that you think maybe I don't have at my school or vice versa, just because of, maybe the populations or the, amount of resources schools have? Do you think our school rules kind of vary a little bit, probably?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So how would you feel? Let's just say, for instance, I'm in Iowa. Okay, you're out in Virginia, like I said. If I'm making all the school rules for you guys, but I'm never at your school, I don't really interact with the kids, don't interact with the teachers. How would that make you feel if I were making all the school rules?
Probably not that good.
Yeah. Do you think I would have a very good idea of what the students at your school need if I were doing that, or just have the best interest of the kids and the teachers and everybody else at the school if I wasn't in their shoes every single day?
No, I don't think you would.
I don't think so either. Okay, so why do you think anybody would want to allow that to happen? Why would the teachers allow that to happen? Why would the kids want that to happen? Would anybody ever want that to happen?
And besides the people who are doing it, I don't think so.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair assessment of that. Okay, so Revolutionary War, back to that. That's exactly kind of what started the whole issue and topic of. So obviously, back in the 1700s, England was controlling the United States, the original 13 colonies that were founded over, when they came over on the Mayflower and everything. So it was obviously a bunch of English people from England that came over, and Parliament over in England was still making all of the decisions over, and while they were in England, about what the United States, the original 13 colonies, were like. Okay, so how do you think those people? Do you think those people felt the same way that maybe you'd be feeling if I were making all the decisions for your school over there?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And they had a lot of different unfair regulations and rules as well. And just there was some things that were questionable decision making that really kind of sparked the interest of the Revolutionary War. And this is kind of the first step of how that war started. So I have an article I'm going to share with you, and then I'll read it out loud for you, so you can just follow along while I'm reading it, if that's okay. Okay, so I'll share my screen quick. Okay, can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, so this is the colonies under the British rule. Okay, as you can see, here's our original 13 colonies. We have Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, uh, New Hampshire, New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia. Where are you from? Okay, so there's our original 13 colonies. So I'll just read this article, and then we can talk about it a little bit. So in the 1600s and 1700s, Europeans came to North America looking for religious freedom, economic opportunities, and political liberty. They created 13 colonies on the east coast of the continent. Later, when the colonists won independence, these colonies became the 13 original states. Each colony had its own government, but the British king controlled these governments. By the 1770s, many colonists were angry because they did not have self government. Okay, kind of back to our example of if we were in two different states and I was making all the rules for your school, these colonists were just kind of fed up with all the unfair rules and regulations that they were having to abide by. Okay. This meant they could not govern themselves and make their own laws. They had to pay high taxes to the king. They felt that they were paying taxes to a government where they had no representation. Okay. So that's saying they obviously didn't have a say in what was going on at all. They were also angry because the colonists were forced to let British soldiers sleep and eat in their homes. Okay. That doesn't sound very fun. In 1774, leaders from the colonies met in Philadelphia to discuss British laws that they believed were unfair. They believed that Great Britain did not treat the colonists as equal citizens. They thought the people needed more control over their government. In 1775, colonists fought against the British Army in Massachusetts. The leaders met again and decided to organize an army. George Washington became the commander-in-chief of that army. Okay, so that's kind of how. Stop sharing my screen. That's kind of how the Revolutionary War kind of took place. Obviously, it goes back to those rules and regulations, but I feel like you have a decent understanding of taxes and of all that stuff. Okay. So yeah, like how would you feel too? If the taxes were that much higher for you just because you lived in, one of these original 13 colonies and compared to if you lived over with the British King, because the taxes were much higher over here in the original 13 colonies. Okay. So next I've just got a short little video. It's about the American Revolution again, and it's no taxation without representation. Okay. So it's one of the first major steps. Like we talked about, they didn't feel like they had anybody representing them while they were getting treated this way. So here's a short little video to kind of put that in a little bit more perspective for you. So I'll share that screen again. Okay. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. Let me know if you can't hear it. Okay. I know sometimes we've had problems with it. Okay, awesome. Okay, so obviously that we kind of talked some about some other things. There were some big taxes on some very popular items. I obviously it's a different time now, but stamps were a huge part back then. Mailing and paper, all the taxes on stuff that were super common, sugar, all that stuff that they had talked about in the video. So that's another huge reason. It wasn't just taxes on, things that people didn't really use much. It was very common items, according to that video. So that really kind of got everybody upset as well. And obviously, the no taxation with representation, that was a big deal as well. So I guess last for our lesson today, since we'll just do a verbal exit ticket since it's just you and me and we don't have a full class. Otherwise we'd write some stuff down. So what were a couple things you learned today?
I learned more about like why the war was started, like because it was because of like taxes and being controlled by the British, even though like they didn't like vote for them and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like I also learned about like well, I also learned the times that it started. And I don't think I really knew that before.
Mm-hmm. The dates and the years and
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
Um I also learned about I didn't I also didn't know about like how they didn't want or how nobody or how the people who were creating the laws weren't from the 13 colonies
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
before.
that was a big reason that we talked about that early too. So that's a huge reason. Is there any other questions that you can think of that maybe I could answer for you?
Nope.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's the our first lesson. We got a series of them, but thanks for helping me out and hope you learned something. So